peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Today, we are actually going to talk about something social and cultural. Believe it or not, you guys may be weary and fatigued over talking about this Karmelo Anthony case. I think what's happening, a lot of bad has come from this case. I think the Black community, yeah, we've showed out our whole entire tails on this one. However, there is been some refreshing content that I've seen come out about this case, particularly from Black males, Black masculine men who are carving out a lane and lending their voice and their credibility to a logical and lawful and factual analysis of what happened with the Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf case out in Frisco, Texas. So let's go ahead and we're going to let attorney Dennis Sperling cook for a moment. Take a listen to this.
In your emotions, but I'm not here for that. My children will tell you that I'm mean. I don't really care about how you feel. But again, so a lot of people are angry. A lot of the critics, this is what they're saying. When I'm saying Dennis is sounding like the prosecution, dealt with that. The other one is a lot of people, he's not defending the Black kid. Y'all just want me to jump on the pro-Black. And despite what you think, I'm not pro-Black. I'm pro-accurate. I'm pro-truth. I'm pro-honest. Doesn't matter. That's what we need right now. Okay? That's it. All right?
When I listened to Dennis make that statement about, contrary to what you heard, I'm not pro-Black, but I'm pro-truth and I'm pro-facts. For a lot of people, particularly the pro-wokeity woke blackity black crowd, that is very difficult for them to hear, because when you've been adequately trained in this melanated Marxist minded worldview where you view the world through the race of lens, and despite observable reality, it when you have deeply held presuppositions that are filtered through the lens of Blackness, it is difficult for you to come to truthful and honest conclusions, because the framework in which you view the world is not rooted in truth. So I appreciate Dennis Sperling for making this statement right here, because this is the crux. This is the flashpoint from whence the rest of his conversation is going to take off from here. What he is doing is he is telling people who look like him, he comes from the Black community, that listen, I don't care about your feelings. I am not pro-Black. I am pro-truth. Now, does it mean that pro-truth is anti-Black? No. There are category distinctions that have to be made there. This is why my content is rooted in a Christian ethic, a biblical worldview, because it provides guardrails for me to avoid siding with wickedness just because the context of the conversation has to do with someone or something that pertains to the community from whence I would identify, which would be the Black community. I need those guardrails in place, because a sinful and wicked heart is always going to create an idol and erect an idol and elevate that idol above what is true. And for the Christian, we can't afford to do that. So I'm gonna let him finish.
This is, but he's not defending the Black kid. That's an emotional criticism. And some folk are looking at the case through a racial defense lens. Young Black defendant, white victim, alleged all-white jury, national media pressure, and a justice system that has historically punished Black defendants harshly. So when I say the jury had a legal basis, some people hear Dennis is abandoning the Black defendant. But that's not what I'm doing. I wasn't ignoring race. I wasn't ignoring the racial divide. I wasn't ignoring the history of the justice system. I was saying that we still have to separate racial distrust of the system from the legal evaluation of this particular stabbing.
That was a very profound statement right there that Attorney Spurling made. But what he fails to understand that is that Because within the Black community, we are overwhelmingly matriarchal, meaning there is less and less of a presence of men like him that are leading and are heads of their home. And we really don't have a high percentage of our women that submit to, forget a man, just our husbands and our fathers. That dynamic is overwhelmingly missing in our community. So when he says that is an emotional argument that has nothing to do with the legality of this case, people struggle with that because if you've only been around women, raised with women, don't have experience or history with a man coming to a situation, removing his emotions out of it, looking at the facts, and then being able to make a determination and stand on what is true, you are always going to lean into your emotions and end up with the wrong conclusion because you're allowing your heart to shepherd you versus being sober minded and not trusting in your heart, because scripture tells us that the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? And so being sober minded is a very God centered mindset to have, because it forces you to rely on an objective standard of truth. Remove your emotions out of it, which is prone to wander and prone to sin, and fact find. Gather the facts and then evaluate those facts against an objective standard, not a subjective one based on how you feel, but one that is based on an objective standard that's outside of you, that appeals to a higher moral standard, right? We have to have an objective standard outside of ourselves in order to determine what is true. What is our moral ethic and framework based on? It can't be based on your feelings. It has to be based on something outside of you. What the attorney is trying to get us to do here is to not lean into the matriarchal pull that so many of us have, that nurturing and the feelings based mindset. And he wants us to look at the facts and deal with what is, not what you wish it to be, not what you desire it to be, but what is.
And that's where some people get uncomfortable because they want those two things to be the same conversation every time. Okay, and I can care about a young Black defendant, a young Black man, and still tell the truth about what he did and the truth about the law. I can understand why people distrust the system and still explain why this jury rejected self-defense. Those aren't contradictions. Defending Black children doesn't mean lying to Black children.
Defending Black children does not mean lying to Black children. This was one of the very first of many mic drops that I appreciated here, because when I analyze this case and I look at all the videos that are on social media, so many people, I said, and this is why I said Karmelo Anthony is where he is right now because the community failed him, his parents failed him. All of the individuals who've been doubling down in foolishness and finding themselves on the side of wickedness and unrighteousness are the ones that failed him, because if they loved him, they would tell him the truth about what he did and hold him accountable. But because his parents are still failing to hold him accountable, his parents are still trying to wiggle their way and find a way to get him out of this situation and blame everyone and everything other than the young man who pulled out the knife and inserted it into the chest of Austin Metcalf. Those are the people who failed him. And they failed him because, just like Dennis said, defending Black children doesn't mean that we lie to Black children. Lying to Black children, in my opinion, in an effort to defend them, is one of the highest forms of hatred, particularly in a country that you say, not me, because I don't believe it, but if you say that this country is inherently racist, yet you are always asking your enemy, who you say is your enemy, you ask your enemy for respite. give us a break, lower the bar and the standard for us. Whoever asked their enemy for respite? Now, that's not the point that Dennis is making here, but it's the point that I'm making here. He was like, I don't have to lie to black children to defend them. One, that's an integrity issue. And when he said that, this exposed what is really going on in the black community, which is our lack of integrity, our poor character, and our lack of honor and duty. And that's the part that hurt me the most. It hurts me to see members of the black community defend murder. I'm like, what is going on in the hearts of you people? You're meditating on blood and you think that that is a lawful and legitimate response to someone either asking you to leave a space or putting their hands on you. Not some major threat, not putting you in a headlock and smashing your head up against the concrete, but a shove. You think it is an appropriate response to say, well, he put his hands on him, so I see why he killed him. It's got black folk out here looking crazy and savage. This is why I've been referring to this as pavement ape behavior. And I know you don't like when I say words like that, but what else am I supposed to conclude? If in a civilized society, a well-ordered society, that there is a huge swath of the population that thinks it is appropriate to stab people over words or over a shove, like fatally stab them. I don't have to lie to black children to defend them. That's a powerful statement right there.
Defending black children doesn't mean telling them the truth before the system gets a chance to teach them the hard way. You see? And a lot of you all have this question. You heard a lot of people say, Austin put hands on him first. So why isn't that self-defense? That's another big criticism. And when people say that, it's like you don't have proper understanding.
You know, it's sad, but the only population that should get a pass for arguing this way would be our juvenile children's population. Like, this is juvenile childlike argumentation. And the thing about children is they don't get a pass, but what you do is you correct their thinking. You say, no, little girl, no, little boy. It is not appropriate to stab people who put their hands on you. And let me explain to you why. Like, you would take a child aside and teach them and train them right from wrong. The fact that this man is sitting on here with adults and he has to explain to them, is this what you teach your children? Oh, well then no wonder it is savage pavement ape-like behavior in the hood, in the ghetto, because this is how you guys resolve all conflict. Somebody say something you don't like, oh, Chip, I'm about to stab you now. Like, seriously? This is an infantile way to view the world.
The argument is basically, he was touched first. He was disrespected. He was outnumbered. He had the right to defend himself. And let me be clear. If somebody puts hands on you, that matters. If somebody initiates physical contact, that matters. If somebody is being aggressive, that matters. But that doesn't automatically answer the legal question. See, let me say this. Ordinary force and deadly force are not the same thing. Someone putting hands on you, that probably justifies some level of force, but it doesn't automatically justify stabbing somebody in the chest or using deadly force. That's what people are getting mad at.
Where's the lie? I don't see how you can be angry, aggressive, or just disagreeable with the statement that Dennis just made here. It seems how I'm always saying, y'all struggle with these category distinctions. Improper, ordinary force, and deadly force. What he's trying to do, he's juxtaposing the improper response from Karmelo Anthony against the backdrop of two different types of force. Ordinary force versus deadly force. And a person a person of low IQ, or they're just being willfully obtuse and they don't want to understand because I don't know, either they slow, retarded, or they're just blinded by the sin, their ethnic idolatry. It's definitely a lot of that. Refuse to categorically examine what Karmelo Anthony did and place it in a box, right? Was that ordinary force? Or was him stabbing Austin deadly force? Was his response appropriate and equivalent response to the threat? This is not hard to understand unless you are, like I said, willfully blind because of the sin of ethnic idolatry blinds you from being able to give a proper examination and a proper evaluation of what has happened. You want this boy to be innocent so bad, not because you have any intrinsic attachment to him, but because you've allowed yourself to be emotionally baited and manipulated by some evil people and bad actors who use the fact they use legitimate grievances of the past to make you think that the situation at hand here, in the case of Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, is that it is a white boy tried to do something to a black boy, and black people we've sustained under the weight of y'all's terror too long, and we finally did something, and you want to one up on them. See, the conversation y'all really want to have, y'all don't really want to have. Because, see, my question is, where was this deadly force during the time when you claim your ancestors were enslaved and they was whipping up on you and oppressing you and doing all these things to you? Where was that deadly force then? Because, truth be told, if someone decides to capture me, take me to a plantation, and tell me that I'm going to work for free and they're going to beat me if I don't, I'm sorry. At that point, that's when the deadly force was supposed to happen. The deadly force was supposed to happen during Jim Crow when those racist white Democrats tried to tell you, oh, you can't vote. And if you do vote, you better pull the lever for who we say you gonna vote for or else. That's when the deadly force was supposed to happen, because you're like, oh, so you threatening my life, you threatening my family, you threatening to do this, that, and the third to me if I don't comply and do what you say. Oh, okay, well, I'll show you better than I can tell you. You were supposed to show up to the polls using your Second Amendment right and assert your right to vote. You were supposed to assert your right to vote and say, no, 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 I'm showing up to this poll and I will vote because the Second Amendment, I'm about to protect my right to vote. You don't get to tell me what I can and cannot do. So now, this is the part that you're not gonna like this part. We have this aggression that is misplaced, this misplaced deadly response to situations where it doesn't call for all that. But the situations that actually call for that, you'd rather sit around and let somebody beat on you and play the victim. Pick a struggle. This is why I said, y'all ain't gonna like this. It's the blacks that he's talking to and about, they're not honest. They're not honest because he's going to give an example of situations in the hood all the time. If this was a story of Taquayshawn and Jaquarius, Taquayshawn shoves Jaquarius and Jaquarius stabs Taquayshawn, people would be like, oh snap, that's not right. He died for nothing. But because it involves this racial dynamic, people have turned off their brains and they're unable to think in proper categories. But let's let them finish here.
Because emotionally, they collapse the categories. They treat he touches me first like it automatically equals I have the right to kill this person now. That's stupid. You can't use deadly force just because somebody touched you. That's not the law. Putting hands on somebody may start the self-defense conversation. It doesn't automatically end the murder analysis, though. Why is that so difficult for people to understand?
They don't want to understand it, Dennis. They don't want to understand it. This is not hard to understand. They just have this incessant need to be right. And they are willing to be on the side of wickedness and unrighteousness to do it. And that tells you those are people that you need to keep away from you. And those are not good people. Anybody who tries to legitimize what Karmelo Anthony did by collapsing those categories and saying that what he did was an appropriate response to what a white boy did to him, that person is evil and wicked. You need to stay away from them. You need to stay away from them.
Is that hard to understand?
Mm-mm.
Where are your grandparents at? Don't you have people around you with common sense to tell you just because somebody hit you or slap you, you don't have a right to kill them? Is that what you tell your sons? If a little girl comes and smacks them upside the head, they have a right to haul off and hit her with a haymaker? Is that what anybody touch you, you have a right to just go off on? Is that what you telling?
Dennis, I like the way he's cooking right here, because what he's doing is he is highlighting the fact that too many, not all, but too many individuals in the Black community have this very matriarchal, estrogen type responses to situations void of logic and reason. And it's because there's been such an imbalance within our communities of the lack of male headship and the overemphasis on matriarchal female leadership that we're unbalanced now. Our boys and our girls are not growing up with a healthy balance of both the masculine and the feminine, that male headship, and then the female submission and kindness and softness. Like, children are not getting a healthy mix of both. It's an overemphasis of one. So therefore, the conflict resolution, being able to manage your emotions, being able to know what the appropriate response is depending on the situation and the circumstance, these are all things that fathers teach children, boys and girls alike. So if you think you've got four, we've had effectively since the 1960s, 4, maybe 5 generations of bastards raising dastards, a high out of wedlock rate, absentee fathers, all of these women, these single mamas are who has raised this generation that we see. We cannot be shocked and surprised or confused when the men lack emotional regulation and all of us are thinking like women. Like, this is a man who is very clear-headed and sober-minded, and he can see this as clear as day. And he is sitting here laboring with whole-grown adults on the internet because they are struggling to even understand what he's saying because they've collapsed the categories. It's because they have not been exposed to or raised by a healthy balance of a man and a woman. The boys who respond this way were raised, they get it from their mama. They get it from their mamas. They get it from their mamas, and because the men in these boys' lives, for the most part, don't want to deal with these women, the men take a step back, have removed themselves out of the picture altogether, and the children end up suffering. And now we're seeing societal decay, societal collapse, a community that is championing murder under the guise and defense of self-defense when it doesn't meet the legal standard. And they're struggling to even parse it out and explain it and make it make sense. And they want to imply that this attorney here, who is thinking lawfully and sober-minded, is working for the prosecution and has turned his back on the Black community because he won't lie to Black folks to satisfy their emotional need to be right. It's incredible to watch.
Huh? What about you? Some other little boy hit him. You got a right to spin the block and come back and shoot their house up?
Yes.
Is that what y'all telling y'all kids?
That's what they do.
Maybe that's why we have so many unalived and so many murders in the black community, huh? Maybe we've been teaching them wrong. Have y'all thought about that?
I've been said they was raised wrong, Dennis. I say it all the time, like y'all were just raised wrong. And see, let them finish before I give my commentary, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Maybe we need to start teaching some proportionality, some self-control. Have we thought about that? A little discipline, a little emotional discipline, maybe. So we won't have a bunch of boys running around here in men's bodies with women's minds. Huh? Big, strong men with emotional responses like women. Is that healthy? Has that been healthy for black men? Has that been healthy for the black community? Because, see, that's what we're really talking about. What we really talking about is a disproportionate response that we see 100 times a day in the black community. That's what we really talking about. It just so happened to happen to a white boy, and the white folks wasn't going for it.
Facts. And that's what black folks are mad about. They are mad that the street justice and the hood antics that happen in a normal, ordinary Monday, that it didn't fly when it happened to a white boy. Let me break down what I mean. In the hood, this is how things are handled. Everything is blown out of proportion. It is a tit for tat. It is always about the vengeance, the retaliation, the whole turf war, the street gang. You did this, so I'm gonna do that. I mean, folks are shooting each other over sneakers and losing a basketball game. You slept with my girl, so now I got to kill you. Like, listen. I know these people. I told y'all, one thing I will never let you do is mess with my bona fides. You can't come out here and attempt to try to strip me of my bona fides to invalidate the commentary and the criticism that I level against the black community all the time because I actually love them. So all of the name calling, calling me a auntie, what is it? Not an Uncle Tom, but a house wench or a bed wench or whatever the disparaging names that they come up with to call me anti-black. What they can't do is invalidate and try to take away my bona fides simply because they don't like it. Why? I was raised by a single mother. Okay? I'm from the hood. I am from Bronx, New York. Okay, right off of Bronx River Parkway, Southern Boulevard, and Bruckner Boulevard, and the whole Hunts Point area, the 6th train. I grew up in the South Bronx. I know these people. I know hood behavior. I walked to school and saw the crack vials and saw the used condoms and all the prostitution around me and all the shoot 'em up, killing, the robbing, the raping, the stealing. I grew up in all of that. You can't take my bona fides away from me. I know hood people, okay? And not only that, I know what it's like to grow up with an imbalance and a lack of the masculinity in the home because your whole life, all you know is matriarchal squalor. Several generations of women being in charge with no men present. I know that life because I was raised in it. So don't come at me saying, you saying you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth. No, I know you people. I've been raised and grew up around you my whole life. That is not it. You can't strip me of my bona fides, just like Dennis is about to tell you can't touch his bona fides either.
You might be able to do that in the hood. You might be able to do that in the ghetto. Somebody hit you, you hit them back harder. Somebody touch you, you stab them, but you're not going to do it out here. That's what they're saying. That's just it, right? Right? If Karmelo Anthony got pushed by Jamal Jenkins, and then Karmelo Anthony turned out and whipped out a gun and shot Jamal Jenkins, y'all be like, man, that's messed up. That's messed up because we would have removed the racial issue. That's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If Jamal Jenkins had accidentally stepped on Karmelo Anthony's shoe and Karmelo Anthony whipped out a blade and stuck him in the neck and he died, that's crazy. You dying over nothing. That's what you would have said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But see, because of this racial issue and our historical avarice, I should say, for the criminal justice system, this conviction and the relationship that white people and black people have had in this country has been so animated. I mean, we've been here together damn near 500 years, but apparently we just never gonna get along. But bottom line is, it would have been a different scenario. Y'all would have understood it better. Y'all would have understood it better, wouldn't you? Huh? That's what I know. I know you all. I know my people. And so you mad at me for calling it like it is. You mad at me for not jumping to the side. Because see, I've seen enough black men die at the hands of other black men to know it's an emotional response, and I recognize that in Karmelo Anthony.
Facts.
I do. And you all don't have to like me. I don't care. I am a very mean black man. I pride myself on being mean. I like being mean. I'd rather you all not like me. I'm not here to be your friend.
Listen, I ain't mad at him. Now, I'm not going to say I am not a mean black woman. I'm not mean. I love, I'm as sweet as pie. But I will agree with him when he says, like, I'm not on the internet because I want you to like me. It's great if you do. I want you to actually watch the content and enjoy it and be transformed and edified and encouraged by all of it. But make no mistake about it. I do what I do, not because I want to be liked. I do what I do because I want to be found faithful. And there are too many people who claim to be so pro-black and claim to love their kinsmen according to the flesh. But instead of looking their kinsmen according to the flesh in the eye and say, I love you enough to tell you, y'all are going the way of Cain. You're meditating on blood. You have idolized this skin that you're in, and it's become this stumbling block to now it is leading you to side with wickedness, and it is exposing a very sinful and calloused and wicked heart, and you need to repent for it. You have to love people to tell them that. For me to look in the camera and to tell black people that they are wrong, and that if they don't repent and turn from this foolishness, that they will spend an eternity separated from God in a burning hell. Like, I can't come on this platform and say the things that I say with an expectation that people are going to like me. I've got to be confident and settled with the fact that no matter what I say, regardless of the issue, my job is to land on the side of what is true and what is right. And those who are the sheep who belong to Christ, they will accept it and they will hear it gladly. And those who are of their father, the devil, are going to hate the words that I say, and they're going to recoil and be angry at it and have a lot of animosity toward me for it and a downright hatred. And I'm okay with that. You ain't got to like me. I'm not here to be liked. I am here to be found faithful. And so I wanted to react to Dennis Sperling's commentary on this, where he's basically giving you guys an explanation of, listen, you can say what you want about me. You can call me mean, but I am just calling balls and strikes. And I know you're in your feelings about it. It's because you get it from your mama. But this is the problem. We don't have enough masculine men out here calling the black community to account, because we got too many, even on the conservative side, who believes that we need to rub these people on the back. You can't tell black people the truth and talk to them like that, because it'll hurt their feelings. It'll turn them off. They're not going to hear you. The message is the message, and those who the message is meant for will hear it and hearken to the voice. And those who want to be rebellious And those who want to be of their father, the devil, they're not going to respond and they're not going to listen and they're not going to like it. It is not my job to modify the message. My job is to disseminate the message and let the Holy Spirit do the work. So I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? What did you think of attorney Dennis Sperling just kind of laying it out, making it plain, telling black folks like, listen, you can feel however you want to feel about this case, but you're not looking at it with a proper legal lens. And what is wrong with y'all that y'all are not thinking through the implications of saying, well, because Austin put hands on Karmelo, that Karmelo was justified in stabbing him. That is the overarching analysis that he's making here. He's like, listen, I know that's how y'all function in the hood, but in the real world, that street justice does not work. In a civilized, we cannot have a civilized order society if you think that that kind of deadly force is justified in a situation like this. Something's wrong with you. And now you're going to suffer a very rude awakening, because Karmelo is about to spend 35 years in prison because the people who claimed they loved him have not properly taught him, son, that was a disproportionate response to what happened. And that was inappropriate and it was wrong. And you killed somebody. When are we going to get the remorse and the apology from the parents, from Karmelo? Y'all want us to believe Karmelo, but we ain't heard a word from Karmelo. And I believe that there's a reason why. There's a reason why we haven't heard from Karmelo, and that his parents keep trying to double down and keep this lie going. It's because these are not good people, and these people are dishonest. But I am curious to know what you think. I absolutely loved this commentary from Dennis Sperling. And going over, I'm going to link to this video to his channel. I'm going to link it in the description below. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.